Call the regular meeting of the Upshur County Commission to order. We'll begin with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we don't have a copy of the minutes yet from the May 31st, so we'll postpone that till next week. And we have Mr. Virgil D. Miller, Sheriff of Upshur County, concerning purchase of vehicles for law enforcement.
Good morning.
Morning, Virgil.
Diane, I'm glad you made it back from Wyoming County.
It's a long ways down there.
Last time I was there, Fred Godet and I were there, and it was a campaign year, and we went in a little restaurant to have a bite to eat, and there's an old guy there that had buttons from head to toe on him, and he kept slipping down, and he looked at us, and we were in uniform, and he said, "Upshur County, that's a Republican county, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, sir, it is."
He was well versed in politics.
Yep, he knew his politics, yeah. What I wanted to bring before the commission, or just run by you this morning, as you're well aware, we had allowed in the budget, this upcoming budget starting in July, for the purchase and replacement of 4 of our cruisers. And to that end, I've been talking with a car dealer here locally. I looked at the state contract and so forth. And what I'm leaning or asking about this morning, I've talked with John Jenkins and his representative, Ron Sheets, about purchasing the vehicles through them. Of course, you know, you're aware Jenkins Ford's a local dealer, and that's where we bought most of our vehicles over the last several years. And their price, Mr. Jenkins' price, is the same price as we could buy it off state contract. There's no difference really, other than we'll have it serviced here and we'll be buying locally here. But to that end, this production year, the orders have to be in by June 20th, is what Mr. Sheets advises me. And what I want to do is just get the okay from the commission. If I could draft a letter authorizing them to go ahead and place the order. Of course, delivery is going to be in August or September of the vehicles anyway, which will be well up into the new budget year. And just asking it authorized that I could go ahead and do that.
What kind of vehicles are they going to be?
Looking at Ford Expeditions. Yeah, they're going to run about $27,000 per. They're about $3,000 more. Of course, you know that they've done away with the Crown Vic. It's not made anymore.
It's a Taurus now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Ford Taurus. The thing I was concerned with, the Explorer is somewhat cheaper, but this is the new year for the production of this new Explorer they have. It does have more room in the old Explorers, and it is 4-wheel drive, but you're talking about a new engine, a new model year. I'm just a little leery of being the brand new one if they don't have all the bugs worked out, to be quite honest with you. The Expedition is a little bigger. You know, it's the same thing as what we've been using, and you know, basically it's tried and true.
Well, I know that the Taurus, the new Taurus, has the Crown Vic has all-wheel drive on some of their vehicles.
Right, the new Taurus
I
does.
could never understand, you know, my perspective, why law enforcement didn't have all-wheel drive. I know when I was chief of police in Buchanan a number of years ago,
Yeah.
there were parts of the city I couldn't get to with a cruiser.
Yeah, you couldn't get on Victoria Hill if it snowed.
Right, exactly. That's the area I was thinking of.
Yeah, and your argument when I came in was the same as mine. You know, every department in the city had a 4-wheel drive except the police department.
Right.
Why
Everyone
not?
wanted to move there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what we're looking at. And the Expedition, for, you know, the equipment the deputies carry now, you know, from the hazmat response gear and everything
Increase
else.
the mileage. Is the mileage comparable?
It's comparable to exactly what a Crown Vic is. Yeah, the mileage is not any appreciable difference.
Was that what was in the budget, Willie? I do believe so. I'd have to double check, but I think there were 4 in the budget, if I remember correctly.
For the budget, we allowed, I think, 27 per and about 4,000 to equip them.
Is there any concern legally, Willie, with it not being state contract even though it's the same price?
I would have a little bit of a concern, yes. You may want to make, contact with, you're looking at, comparing apples to apples, other Ford dealers to see if they were willing to match the price, or if they match the price, they would have to be less than the price to warrant going outside of, the local vendor. But that would be a concern because it is over the bidding threshold, yes.
But to answer, response to Mr. Parker's question, the state's already taken care of that bidding process. Jenkins Ford is just willing to match the state contract.
Yeah, I understand. That would be the only thing. You don't have to go out to competitive bid if you're purchasing from the state contract, but we're not purchasing directly from the state contract. Someone's meeting that price. Hypothetically, XYZ Ford dealership somewhere, well, I'll give it to you for $100 less than the state contract. Don't know whether anybody would or wouldn't, don't know.
Maybe Jenkins would.
Well, I think, haven't they gotten the state contract before?
Jenkins has never had,
They've never had the state contract?
no, but we have purchased, just like this right here, the same scenario before from Jenkins by state contract.
Yeah,
price.
he's matched the state contract
Yeah.
price before, and the commission at that time, agreed. It may be a small issue, probably wouldn't be an issue. I don't know if anybody would want to make it an issue, but
Well, we don't need any issues. Really.
The Ford dealer that actually has the state contract is the one in Boone County.
is it Scott something? I don't know.
No, it's not the
If the
one.
law permits us to purchase locally, I'm in favor of that. That's, helps local business, helps.
Well, I don't think it's a question of purchasing locally. It's just, my concern is if you have a state contract,
Right.
because technically, if you bought it on a state contract from anywhere in the state, it still could be serviced locally. Is that correct? It's Ford.
It's Ford, yeah.
If it's legally to be allowed, we should do it.
Okay.
One-
Will you let me know?
Yeah, let me do some checking here later today. We may just need to make a phone call to 1 or 2 other dealers. Because you don't have to have a written bid, you just happen to have a competitive bid situation. So I think it can be, in the interim, you may make a couple of phone calls, say, I don't know what we're going to do, the commission's looking, are you interested or not interested type phone calls. And if they're the same, then you can go wherever you desire. The only issue is if someone would come in below the state contract. I don't foresee that happening.
Well, I know some numbers, but I don't want to
Yeah, right.
say at this point. Okay.
All right, thanks, Virgil.
Thank you.
Okay, our next scheduled appointment is 11 o'clock, our Gary E. Bailey boat launch dedication on the Hall Road. So invite everyone down to that. And other items, employment of personnel for Upshur County Recreation Park and Pool Facility. Brandon Tyler Kennedy, admissions and concessions, $7.25 an hour. Starting date 6/1/2012. Jessica Hardman, admissions and concessions, $7.25 an hour, 6/1/2012. And Melanie Groves, water aerobics instructor, $20 per session, 6/01/2012. Do we have a motion to approve the employment of these individuals?
So moved.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Usage of the plaza area and annex lobby by the Upshur County Republican Executive Committee and Central West Virginia Republican Women for West Virginia Day celebrations from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 20th, 2012. Have a motion to approve this request.
I'll make that one.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Appointment of Joyce Harris Thacker to Upshur County Solid Waste Authority for a term ending June the 30th, 2016. approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Appoint Emil Butcher, C.J. Martin, Tom O'Neill, Sam Nolte, Dave Thomas, Kathy McMurray to the Upshur County Development Authority for a term ending June 30th, 2015. Have a motion to approve these appointees?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Approval of Victims of Crime Act Grant Agreement and related documentation. Information on that is page 5. Willie, you want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
It's a continuation of a grant we've received for a number of years, funding the majority of a position. The grant amount is $35,175, which is on page 5 of the agenda. Now, we've in the budget for the is outlined on page 30 and 31 of what it funds. This is Laura Queen's position, and most of it is salary or salary-related items, small amount for equipment and travel. We had asked for $36,645 and received $35,175. And that's on page 31 of the agenda. But it would be appropriate if the commission so desires for a motion to authorize the president's signature on the documentation.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved memorandum of understanding with Mountain Cap West Virginia Incorporated for the summer food service program at the Upshur County Recreational Park and Pool Facility. Last week we had information that is an approved site, and basically they would be bringing food up for those that qualified on a daily basis and serving that at the pool as one of their sites for that. Any questions on that? It's one of the different sites that they have in the summer for their summer food program. So if we would have a motion to approve that memorandum of understanding,
So moved.
I'll second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Request from Upshur County Farmland Protection Board for an additional transfer tax on real estate property of $1.10 per 500 of value or fraction thereof. This is a new board that we created for those that have farmland that would like to preserve it for farmland use only, and this is an opportunity for people to do this through this Farmland Protection Board. And we've had folks from Upshur County that would like to have been shown an interest in that. And this provides them the opportunity to dedicate their land in the future for farming only. And so the statute allows the county commission to implement an additional fee on the property transfer tax in order to help initiate that program. So are there any questions on that? Do you have anything else on that, William?
The board, of course, did meet on May the 24th and met with a representative from the state, Levon Payton, who provided quite a bit of information and outlined some things. Mr. Kimball's also on that board, who's in attendance at our meetings normally, and the board authorized this request on a $50,000 purchase. It's another $110 is what the cost would be on a $50,000 purchase. One of the issues that the board will be facing is they're developing, just not really as it relates to this, but an area that she expressed of concern or issue that will be coming up is the mineral rights that are not tied to the surface owner will be an issue for Upshur County in this area as it relates to natural gas drilling, because there cannot be any type of surface development. And so some counties have, if it's, 100-acre parcel, you may carve out 10 acres, something like that, and 90 acres may be brought into the program possibly. So there's ways to develop that or work around those issues, but that'll be one issue that the board has to deal with, the Farmland Protection Board, as they move forward. Of course, it'll be a while before sufficient funding is in place to start receive applications. I would say at least a year before the funding to develop. I'd say a minimum of a year. But during that process, during that time period, the board will be developing the process and ranking criteria, the procedures to be outlined in the program, be working with the state board. We received some copies of other counties' programs and provided that. Ms. Payton brought up some information, a couple of different manuals that had, some forms and suggestions and outline of some procedures. It's a process that'll be ongoing, but this will allow for, if the commission so approves this request, it'll allow for the funding to be developed. The funding will be collected in the county clerk's office. I mentioned to Ms. Wilfong last week because there will be a required change on our programming for the collection of the fee through CSSI, our computer vendor for the county clerk's office, the record recording indexing program. And then at the end of the month, just as the other excise tax is split between the state and county, now it'll be split between the state, the county, and the Farmland Protection Board. That'll be sent to them. So there'll be a separate account set up by the Farmland Protection Board under their control and authorization that the funds will be deposited into.
Very good. Any questions concerning this?
Once the funds are deposited in that special account, they cannot be removed and utilized for anything but the preservation of farmland. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Just like any dedicated account.
Right.
It's dedicated
Right.
to the dedication.
It's an excellent program for those that are interested. I just want to be sure people that are interested know all the details thoroughly.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if they've already done this and had their land as farmland protected, so now they will be charged an additional tax?
No.
No.
Yeah,
Only new
this
ones?
$1.10 additional fee is for all real property recordings. This fee applies to every purchase in Upshur County.
All land?
For example, if I'm purchasing a house on Main Street and paying $50,000 currently, then the recording, the property transfer tax stamps will be an additional $110 now, or as of July 1st, if this is approved, an additional $110. Now, the funds will be used for if there's property owners that have farmland that meet the criteria established by the Farmland Protection Board, which is yet to be developed, the criteria based on the guidelines that are set forth by the statute, then those individuals, it's a voluntary program, can enter into the program, so they receive compensation for that preservation easement, I'm going to call it. So it could not be any future development, any other type of surface development in the future on the parcel that it's included, or part of the parcel, whatever it may be, that's included. And so they receive a payment for example, for the development rights, so to speak, of what they could have received possibly, or a partial payment. Depends on what the negotiation between the property owner and the board, comes to. And if there's property owners out there that would like to voluntarily contribute, some counties, they have received donations of parcels or property from individuals, and this board has the authority to accept those or reject those, as the case may be, depending on the criteria. So it's a program that the purpose is to protect the farmland, but also compensate the property owner for the development rights that they're giving up in forever.
One more question. So a person in Upshur County who owns a $100,000 home will now be charged an additional $220 on their real estate taxes starting next year.
It's not real estate
Property
taxes.
transfer tax.
Only
It's a one-time fee.
a one-time fee.
One-time fee on the property transfer tax stamps that are attached to the deed when it's recorded in the county clerk's office.
Okay.
It's a one-time fee, and it's $1.10 per 500 or fractionary of, so for every $50,000, it's $110. 100,000 is $220. But that's a one-time fee. That's not an ongoing fee.
It's transferred from one owner to another?
Yes, from
Okay.
one owner to another. That's when that will take into effect.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a request from the Farmland Protection Board. So do we have a motion to approve the addition of $1.10 per $500 value for property transfer tax?
So moved.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, consider retaining outside legal counsel for matters relating to the contested election petition response, David Taylor petitioner versus Michael Kelly respondent. Do we have any more information?
I have made contact with 3 firms, one individual, one firm. I've talked to the individual and had sent the information, the public information that has been recorded in the office of the county clerk, the petition and the response. So he's looking at those, wanted to take 48 hours to review those, and I had sent those Tuesday or Wednesday, so I would expect to hear from him today or tomorrow. One firm I called and left a message the same day. I have not heard back from them one way or the other, so evidently there's no interest on their part since they have not made contact back. The other attorney firm that I had contacted, the individual is on vacation this week. I left a voicemail and we'll follow up the first of the week with that individual at that firm. So there's nothing other than that at this point. So I planned on this, keeping this as a topic on the agenda, so whenever it's ready for consideration, then it can be acted upon by the commission.
Okay. All right, next item of information is correspondence from the Office of the State Auditor for local government regional P-card workshops. You might want to elaborate on that, and then you might elaborate on how our P-card system's functioning in Upshur County.
The trainings that are outlined on the page 36 are for the coordinators of the county's programs. In Upshur County, it's Carol Smith and myself, mainly Carol Smith, does most of the work. And she may be attending one or two of these trainings, depending on what the workshop topics are. She's looking at that right now. Our P-card program, you receive a rebate based on purchases through the purchasing card program. That's through the state auditor's office, and then quarterly you receive that check. Last quarter, I just received it this past week or so. It was just under $800 is what we received back. Some counties are using it much more than we have. There's some that are receiving $10,000, $20,000 on an annual basis back. We're striving to get to that, but haven't got there yet.
That was a question that was posed to the new director of the Regional Jail Authority about you being able to use the P-card for the regional jail bill. And he said, well, the problem with that would be that would just be an additional expense to them, which could increase the per diem, so you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for your savings yourself. So that was something that he said probably.
And as larger counties, such as Cabell, who their administrator was there at that meeting, of course they would like to see that because they spend about $300,000 a month.
Yeah.
So their savings would be significant, and we would be subsidizing their savings,
Right.
basically. County our size that is below that. So it's not appropriate in all cases. But for example, the vehicles that Mr. Miller's purchasing, if they take a Visa at that location, Ms. Smith has what we call a ghost card. Nobody individual has that limit, but the ghost card would have that limit where you can put the vehicle purchases on that purchasing card.
Right.
Assuming they take Visa.
Right. Any other questions or comments on the P card? We have our monthly feline activity report and reports from 911 Communication Center, agendas and meetings and notices. Unless we have something else, it looks like that's what's on the agenda. You have anything else, Mr. Barber?
Yeah, just as a note on the Communication Center report, you have a separate copy of the fire department calls that gives more accurately the calls that they and responded to, but they may not have arrived on scene. For example, Buckhannon shows 42 calls in that separate report, but if you look at the report that's in the agenda, the Buckhannon is Station 1, and they show 31 calls. But the difference is the calls they were dispatched on but turned around and never made it to scene. If you remember, that's what Gary Bonnet appeared at one meeting saying the numbers that are on the report are different from his numbers, and that's why. So Mr. Linger's been working with Emergitech to get a different report, and you have a copy of that first report today that gives you that. This gives all the units that responded to that call, but does not, that's all one call. It doesn't count each unit individually. That was one minor glitch we had. So just for your information, that's a new report that we'll be including hopefully each month for you, that gives you the total calls as the ones they arrived on scene, and then the difference would be the ones they were canceled or turned around.
So does it identify in this list the ones that they were turned back? Or how?
You'd have to go through and compare each report, which I did for a smaller department, Washington District. You can look at the nature of the call, nature of the code of the call, and compare that to the other report, and you can go down the list and see which ones were turned, or which ones they were turned around on then.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, we will start paying the bills to our 11 o'clock.